Kirsty, and welcome to episode 8 of Off the Rails with me, Claire. I am super excited about today. I contacted you a little while ago through Instagram to be able to talk to you a bit more about what you're doing and the amazing initiative around KD Club. It's, I believe, a little bit of a newer stem of what you've already got established in the foundation of your business. So yeah, let's jump into it and know a little bit more about it. So if you'd like to introduce yourself and give me a little bit of an intro around how KD Club came to be part of your focus as it is now.
Okay, so I am Kirsty Doyle. I have had a women's wear and bridal business as such for about 22 years. So I've always been self-employed. I've been self-employed since I was 18. I actually have been self-employed since I was probably 14 when I had a piano school and taught all the kids in the street how to play piano. So it's always been ingrained in me to have my own business and for it to be a creative business. So I've got, as I say, over 20 years of experience working. We had a retail store in the Liverpool city centre, and we've had websites, we've got a studio, and we manufacture everything in-house. So we have tailors who work in the studio and we make everything to order. So our business is really a make to order business. You know, we don't have any waste, it's sustainably made. And yeah, I'm very proud of that. It's a beautiful business. I'm also a mum, so a mum to a 9-year-old girl and a 4-year-old boy. And what I have thought about is how I can pass on my knowledge, everything I've learned over the last 20 plus years, how it's developed, and pass that on to a younger generation. It was originally an idea that I had coming out of COVID, and I thought I could teach women, you know, mums, a little side hustle, how to alter a pair of trousers, how to make something for their daughter. But what I really found a gap as I watched my daughter growing up is a gap in young people, especially young girls, in terms of skills, like they can learn creative skills and how they can monetize those skills, how they can turn it into a business. So what we've developed is the KD Club, which we've just done a programme into schools. So I've spoken to about 2,000 children in Liverpool, and it's been amazing. Like, I've absolutely loved it. If I wasn't passionate before, I am so passionate about it now. So it's an online platform that we've got called the Kirsty Doyle Club, where parents can buy it for their children. We've got baking, we've got singing, affirmations, yoga, business, vision boards, how to make a dog bed. It's so all encompassing for these young people to just try something new.
Okay, so that's quite interesting, because I thought it was purely just fashion, but it's the creative part of it can stem in so many different ways. So it's not just kind of pigeonholing, you know, kids that are interested in fashion or anything like that. You do all these, basically giving them a life skill to be able to kind of, like you say, leverage something after, you know, wherever they want to take that creativity. That's brilliant. Exactly. Yeah, I think this is the point of these podcasts as well, is learning more about, okay, what exactly does it encompass? What can I look into more and more with what's on offer? So you go to the schools. What does that look like? How do you kind of pitch? And also, what's the reaction from the kids in the school?
So I start with a little bit about me, and I own up to the fact that I'm a fashion designer and I can't draw and I can't sew. Okay, now that's huge. Like, I'd wear that on a t-shirt, you know, built a business, a 20 plus business. We've sold thousands and thousands of outfits, but I employ people who are very good at that. And I do what I'm good at, which is the creativity, it's the design. I put fabric on a mannequin and I'm very 3D, I'm very textured. I'm like, I like to use my hands, but that's the way I do it. But you could do it completely differently. You could be a mathematician that looks at a pattern on a piece of paper, or you could be somebody who is the most beautiful illustrator. What I go into schools about, so I talk about myself to that from the get-go. You know, I can't sew, but look what I've done. You can do the same. I am all about going in and giving these children, dropping an idea, igniting a spark that says, oh, I've never tried fashion, I've never done that. It could be a boy, could be a girl, could be anyone that says, I've never drawn before. And I give them a template and they drew the most beautiful dress and they go, do you know what? Actually, I love that. I'm going to go on and do something else. I'm going to carry on practicing that. You know, it's developing something. So we went in with the competition was to design a look for a day at the races. We just had Aintree Grand National. It's huge for the city. And they have to design and win an outfit that could be worn for a day at the races. And it could be anything. That was the only thing. And you can't fail. when you're creative. It can't be, that's wrong. It's like, you do you. You become the designer. And I said to each child, and I spoke to one assembly, it was like 400 children. I said, each one of you can be a designer, because that's the truth. You can. You know, like it's telling them, you can do this. I believe in you. And then we got tons and tons of the most beautiful drawings in.
I actually seen it. I seen you on. I love that Aintree. I'm a fellow Northerner, somewhere in between Manchester and Liverpool, so I have no alliance to either city. But I was watching Aintree and I seen you on there, and then I also seen the little girl. She's an 11-year-old that won the competition, and the reality of sitting there. And I loved her reaction, the honesty of kids. That's the beauty of it. They're just so raw, which is amazing. And that's why I'm interested in knowing how they reacted. But her particular reaction was, I wasn't even going to apply. It was last minute. I didn't think I'd have the time. And I found it quite funny. I loved the way she didn't have time. And then she did it. She applied it. And there was her creation made. I can't put my feet in a pair of shoes that how excited she must have felt that something that was drawn and the reality, and on that platform, like she'll look back on this in many years and be like, I hope anyway, super proud of herself. And also having her, being able to achieve that, that's also, I would imagine, have such a positive ripple effect on, wow, you can actually do them things and you can make a big impact. And I think it's amazing. That's part of it. I was like, oh, I can see what you're doing. And, you're elevating, you're putting this in people's focus of, we don't all need to have a massive CV. We don't all need, like you've just said, I'm a designer, and I own my own brand and it's successful. I've been doing it for X amount of years, but end to end, I don't know everything within this realm. Like and I think that honesty resonates with anybody, whether you are presenting to children or you're like me listening right now. I studied design when I started out, hated pattern cutting and wasn't great at illustration, but I loved being what was in here. I needed to just throw it on a mannequin. I couldn't translate or I couldn't even really talk through what I wanted to do. I just knew from A to Z, but the bit in between was all fuzzy. And I think that's lovely, is kind of showing kids and anyone, like I say, that you don't have to be perfect through every stage. You've got other people that are, much more talented, and you lean on each other a little bit. Like you said, I've got the right people in those places to make those things become a reality.
Exactly.
All them amazing, like in that short couple of sentences, so much came out of, you don't have to be completely fluid in every part. You can lean on other people. And that's the beauty, because you constantly learn, like all of the time, especially when you're working with the younger generation. It's without fail, you'll learn something.
100%.
When you go to schools, then you're doing a lot around kind of your local area, and you are online. So is the intention to bring it a little bit broader, for like further in the Northwest? Is your reach, what is your intention to get it a bit more outside of, Liverpool? Is that part of your plan?
So I have had the most wonderful couple of weeks with this new business. You know what it's like running a business, and I'm very much a creative person. I think the sky's the limit with this business. I honestly speak to so many people, like I've speaking to you now, and you get it. You go, there's a need for it. If you're a mum, if you're a teacher, and you can see what's happening. So what's happening, what I find is I spoke to primary school students, and I'll be there for 20 minutes getting a Q&A about all sorts of things. One of them was like, yeah, but what about the dinosaurs? I was like, what? I'm here to talk about fashion. I love the energy from primary schools. What about this? Can you do this? And it was like, yeah. I went into a senior school and I said, all girls senior school, any questions? He did a pin drop. Now I knew for a fact that each one of those girls had a million questions for me, right? And there was nothing. And I was like, no problem, then I'll wrap this up. And then we did a focus group, and then they were like buzzing with questions, and we did much smaller groups. Now what happens, what I struggle with is, where does that confidence drop off between primary and secondary school? So what I want to encourage, what I want to really do with the KZ Club is teach them skills, which they can monetize if they wanted to. They can turn into a bakery business. They can turn it into a dog bed business, whatever. I want to give them a power which says, I've learned something new and I'm really good at this. Okay, I want to ignite a spark because I'm really creative. I'm not getting marked on this. I want to give them that confidence which can see them through into senior school. Or if we can catch that person at 8 years old, whether it's a girl or a boy, obviously the KZ Club is a bit more female focused. But if we can catch them at 8 years old and tell them you're amazing, I'm proud of what you've done here. It's not pass, merit, fail. It's just you've completed it and you've done great and you've had to go. Like, we're so positive. I'm so proud of you. If I can catch that person at 8 and see them through to their 18, how amazing is that going to be?
Yeah, I was going to ask you why you approach younger children, but you've explained it to me. And just to kind of like add to that, I recently went to University of Central Lancashire, which is where I studied, to go back and mentor students, and I was surprised and shocked at how, and I don't like putting labels on things, but how introverted a lot of the students were. They were incredibly, you just felt this bundle of anxiety of, I'm doing this degree and I have to do this and I really need to do that. But everything was really internal. So when we were in a group, a little bit like what you've just said, it was super, like you could have heard a pin drop, like you've just gone back to that sentence using your words. It was exactly the same. However, then when it was one-to-one, it was like this, I just need to talk to you. I just need to kind of all this pressure. I feel like everything's on top of me. And, you know, there is a lot of pressure on young people. And I love what you're doing, saying, okay, I need to go like one step further than, you know, teenage, early 20s, where people are kind of, I think what happens in society is you're almost told that, okay, it's this point in life that you need to know what you're going to be doing. And says who, really? You know, do we ever know what we're
I'm starting a new business at 40. That makes no sense. Like, no sense.
This is the pressure that I heard when I, you know, was listening to these young students, and I just thought, God, that just feels like I can feel the anxiety that was coming from them. So the fact that you're going like one step into before they get to that, and it's like, look, yeah, it's creativity in so many different forms, because it doesn't have to be fashion, it doesn't have to be baking, it could be anything that you think, because creativity is so personal. I think that is something that is amazing, that you're able to do that. And like you say, there is that much more kind of positivity, the energy at a younger age, where they kind of just say it and whatever sticks, it goes. Brilliant.
Just make it whatever, yeah, you know, you just enjoy it.
Raw, whereas when you leave it a little bit later, I've had the experience of this older kind of teenage, early 20s, and I felt incredibly like, wow, what a change from when I, you know, 20 years ago when I was a student.
Yeah.
I don't think I felt that pressure. Yeah, there were certain amounts to get to deadlines, but I don't remember that. So I think we're in a very changing world, and if you can hit at a sweet spot, a sweet age to certain kids and have that creativity, is amazing.
I mean,
so love that.
You know, like, so exactly as you've said there, if you look at, like, on Instagram last night, I watched an AI beauty pageant. I mean, if you don't have pressure on you as a young female anyway, looking at the body perfect, I don't even know what's going to happen when we can't tell if that's a real person or a computer generated image. So what I fear for as a parent is my daughter, when she's allowed on social media in X amount of years' time, to be able to see an AI generated body. So what we've got to come back at is instilling this level of confidence, body confidence, just self-worth within our young women. So we can teach them that via a creative skill, because you can't go wrong. It's not English, maths and science. There's not a particular answer. If you can gain that level of, oh my God, I did that. I enjoyed that. Like, I loved it. I'm wearing it. Someone told me that looked great and I made this outfit. Like, there's no better compliment, there isn't, than someone saying, I love your top. And you go, amazing. You know, it's building that level of confidence.
Yeah, it is. And it's something I think that you're completely right. There's so much going on with, social media that instills a false level of either positivity that isn't really,
Success,
and I say
whatever it is. Yeah.
completely, it's because it isn't real. And I think
Hmm.
when you're in front of, it is brilliant to, like you say, have this reach and know the sky's the limit. But the fact that you're, first of all, going to schools and you're in front as literally a physical person, being able to talk through in a different way, because it is different. I do these podcasts and they're brilliant, but there's nothing like going and meeting somebody in real life. You just get a different vibe, you get a different feeling. And I think it's about maybe taking a couple of steps back, and exactly what you're doing is concentrating on what's in front of you and what you can actually do physically, which a lot of people don't do. They go straight for, okay, what's the bigger ticket, how can I go for that, being again a bit more aggressive, rather than, okay, I care about children. I want to be able to give them the confidence back. I want to be able to capture what they want to do, but I want to do it locally, because that's where I can approach right now. And it will build and build, of course, but I love the fact that you're concentrating on that, because, as I say, a lot of people don't. They'll just go straight for, that bigger, wider, how do we monetize this in a bigger, greater way?
I think it will get to that. I fully believe it will get to, almost like a national level. I fully believe that, because there's a need for it. There's a market for it, whether it's via schools, digitally, nationally, whether it's via the website and parents buy into it. I know, because I am a parent, so I know there's a need for it. And this is only going to get worse in terms of social media, the usage of social media on younger children, and how we control that. But I think it goes back to the whole reason of your podcast. Your podcast is fashion for good, and there's good stories that come out of fashion. Fashion, whether it's fashion courses, whether it's the size of your clothes that you put on, how fashion makes you feel. You can't wear what you want. I think fashion should be celebrated. And if you can make clothes that you like in your style, that are your size, that are your length, imagine that sense of power that you can have. Like, lots of people can't go. We make sizes 4 to 24 here because we can. We make 3 different leg lengths, so we've always been an inclusive brand. And I think we can teach our young people to be inclusive designers. Like, our templates that they can download for the classes are all different shapes and sizes. They're not that classic size 8, drawing that you see on Pinterest. We've got size 20 on there. We've got girls with a fuller bust. You can choose the template that you like. You can equally choose a child frame. Because if we're teaching our young people, the top model book that I buy, oh my God, for Ariana, where you're drawing on fishnets on this like Bratz doll, it makes me want to be sick.
It's true, and
that's not a good positive fashion, idea for our young people to have.
Exactly, because there is the bigger industry part of it where you hear about, okay, we want to be inclusive and diversive and all of this, and it happens for maybe one season, and then it kind of slips back, and it's not genuine. And I think when you speak to people that genuinely give a damn about, okay, I do want to make a difference, I care about who buys, who wants to learn, and who is the future of all those things, it just feels more raw, more real, and I think those things stick more.
Our best-selling size,
going back a little bit to,
our best, just to give you a bit of, like, exactly as you've just said, our best, so we make sizes 4 to 24. Our best-selling size is 16 upwards. So if that's our best-selling size, that's what we sell, and that's what people love, and the fit's right, then obviously there's a market for that. So why not create designers who can create a market for that? Because it just all makes sort of sense when you break it down. And that's what small brands, I think that's what small brands can do. They can react. Whereas your big brands have to buy it in. They have to invest in SKUs. Do you know what I mean? There's a certain level of investment. As a small brand, if a size 16, if a size 22 comes in, we make it, we sell it. Like, we can adapt. If more people want X size, we make that. We're adaptive and we're reactive. And that's what I can then do with the KZ Club. Everything I've learned with KZ will go into the KZ Club.
Exactly, and it's that feedback that you get from person to person, whereas the bigger platforms are like, oh, we use these analytics and we do this and we do that, and I've been part of that for most all of my career. And you're not listening to customers. You're behind a computer and you hope for the best. You've just put 2,000 behind something and you're like, okay, on bigger quantities. And you don't really understand the customer the way you do from a smaller brand. Of course you don't. As much as you might say, yeah, we've pulled this analysis, we've looked at the basket size, we've looked at how she shops. It's a generalization, and you put it out there and you hope for the best. Whereas you're talking one-on-one to customers, you're getting the feedback, you're understanding how somebody wants to wear something. And ultimately, the most important thing is how they want to feel when they're wearing it. Like
100%.
That's the ultimate thing that underpins all of this is, throughout your life as a woman, I'm going to reference that because that's who I am.
Yes.
As a woman, there was parts of my life where I was like, oh, I need to be this size, because it was all about a size rather than anything else, a label on a size. And, you just learn as you go through your life a little bit more of, okay, well, actually, I want to do it for me. And if I feel a certain way, then that's good, and it helps and it sticks and all of that. So, yeah, you kind of back to that confidence thing, how you feel, and it comes with age. But I think it is a very different world we live in now, whereas I've had to mature through my life to get to a place where I'm more comfortable and confident in my body. However, the younger generation are being told in a different way how they should feel and look because of all this, like you said, AI, all of these platforms that are shoved in their faces. So going back to you being in front of them and giving them the opportunity to create and feel a certain way is, I think it's something actually super unique. I don't think there is a lot of people going back and doing that and spending time with such a young age and such an impressionable age. It's more about, getting in at an age where people are, more engaging from a monetary point of view. And when I say that, I mean kind of, that teenage, you've got the wallet spend. It's about engaging in that way. But the fact that you're going back to an age where I think is super, super vital for children, it's unique. It's kind of first off the match to do it. I've not heard of anybody going into schools and giving people a creative platform to be able to do whatever they want to do.
Yeah. I think that's the sad thing, because schools spend less and less on it because it's getting squeezed, and that's the unfortunate thing. And that's, schools are under enough pressure as they are in teachers, and that's, I'm not going to talk about that in any way. It's purely creativity is natural, and it should be, harnessed and encouraged.
And I think when you give somebody a bit of an open door of, being encouraged, it's exactly that word. You can have that creative fire inside of you, but if nobody's saying to you, yeah, it's okay, go and do it, then you just feel a bit like, maybe I shouldn't, maybe I should just stick to that more, what's being pushed at schools from an education point of view in a different light. You know what I mean? I think being taught how to be able to kind of open a door to a creative field is amazing. It's one thing that I actually can relate to 100%. I remember when I was about 14 in high school, and you start talking about like placements and stuff like that for the summer. And I remember as a teacher, it was parents' evening, and a teacher saying, oh, I hear Claire wants to be a designer. And he rolled his eyes at my parents and went, oh, they are dreamers, these kids, aren't they? I remember just feeling like I'd been sucker punched. I was like, oh my God, how dare you? Like, what makes you better than me? And why can't I have that dream? And you know what? In a way, because I am super determined, and if somebody says no, I'll just go and do my utmost to like prove them wrong. I just thought I will make it in the creative industry, and I just think
you watch. But that's you. But imagine that other person that went, maybe I can't, and your parents says, no, you can't make money from it, and that's it. And that's that person gone. So you're lucky that you did get through that and go, oh, actually, I'm going to prove you. But there's children who'll go, oh, maybe I can't. Maybe I'll just be an electrician, which is still great. But it's not what you wanted to be as a person.
Exactly. Yeah. And I just think it's those flippant comments that you hear through your lifetime that can either make you or break you. And I think, again, just having
100%.
somebody that you can relate to, i.e. you going into school and being like, oh my gosh, she's my hero. That's exactly what I wanted to do, but I didn't know how. So you're giving people this opportunity, kids specifically, this opportunity to tap into a creative part of, you know, who they could be.
But I equally think it's really important for them to hear, obviously you being a fellow Northerner, it's equally important for them to hear somebody who sounds like them. So I've just listened to a podcast this morning, and she was from Grimsby and she owned My Energy. It's an energy company. I have never related to someone so much because I listen to so many business podcasts and I very rarely hear people who sound like me. You know, and that's fine, whatever. But this girl has just raised £30 million, you know, in investment, and she sounded just like me. She was a Northerner. She spoke like me. I thought, God, you could go for a coffee with her, and she's done incredibly well. And I think that's really important. I think you've got to hear people who sound like you, especially in the North, and especially doing fashion, because it's very much, you've got to go to the South. You've got to go to the South to get jobs. That's all changed now. You know, this is a different ball game. You know, but equally, you've got to, she sounds just like me. And she's done it. I can do it. You can't be what you can't see. So I believe going into schools, I believe, even if it's not, if it's digitally, that's fine, virtually, whatever. But I think you've got to say, oh God, she sounds just like me. I can do it. You know?
I think that's so true. And hence why I got introduced to you was through my friend who is a Scouse. And she was like,
yeah,
you've got to connect with Kirsty. She's amazing. I love what she's doing. And you have that little like alliance because you are a Northerner. You're like, okay, well, yeah, you can relate that little bit more. So definitely, I think that, yeah, it's relatability. I think when you hear or see somebody, you think, yeah, they're not so far away that it feels unrealistic for me to do something that they're telling me is achievable.
Yes, exactly.
One thing I wanted to ask you was when you are going into the schools, and like today, we know that it's much more than the depth of fashion. Of course, that's kind of your core and everything like that, and you're related that to the creative world, but it's much more than that, and which is brilliant. What's been the reaction from kids in schools? Where are their passions lying? Is it fashion? Is it in kind of like what you've said, making things for their pets and dogs, or baking? What's going on inside of schools? Where are they tapping into?
So, you know, buzzing, the primary schools buzz with excitement, buzz with like, oh, too many questions, and yeah, I want to be a fashion designer. Two things. One, we've ran a survey alongside the competition to ask them what do they want to be. How do they, you know, how comfortable are they with how they look? We've done something alongside this, which we're just collating all the information now, you know, with lots of them wanting to be YouTubers, footballers, you know, there's not as many doctors and astronauts as maybe there used to be, which is interesting. So they buzz with excitement, and then you ask them, has anybody got a sewing machine? And they'll put their hands up and they'll say, it's in my nan's, me grandma, or oh, sewn with me grandma, I've sewn with me nan. Like my mum taught sewing. I come from a super creative household, super supportive. So my mum has taught my daughter how to sew, not me. So it comes from that older generation. You know, it's not the mums that can sew, so it's almost skipped. You know, the children that do want to be designers, they're going back to their nan or their grandma's house and they'll sit and sew with them, which I find really interesting. Not hardly anybody says, oh, me and my mum sit down. It was very, you know, very rare that I heard that. So children are making, and they are being, you know, that creative outlet, but they're doing it with the nans or the grandmas. So it's interesting, that isn't it, that it's not a skill we're pushing now.
It is, and I think one thing that I love about this and why it is so important is the fact that you're closing that gap, because what the reality is that kids, I know, I've got a little cousin, she's 11, she's like, oh, I'll just order off Shein. It's, you know, I can get it quick and it's fast and it's cheap and I've got my pocket money this month. But she's so creative, and how she's, from a really young age, how she's put together outfits. Like, I'm definitely going to point her in your direction, because I know that she would absolutely buzz from being able to do something for herself rather than, you know, having, yes, it's convenient and all these things with, you know, e-commerce, but the fact that if you've got a creative person in front of you and you're showing them and giving the ability and opening a door to, here, you can do it for yourself. And there's no better feeling than when you do something for yourself. The reward is just it goes without saying it's number one. So yeah, I think that's really interesting that it's kind of a generation has kind of slipped. However,
Yeah.
it's it is here. It's still
Oh,
obtainable.
100%. And it's the sustainability that is really coming through with this generation. So maybe our generation, my generation as a mum, we weren't so aware of sustainability. Now these young people are so aware of it, and it's brilliant to see. So if you can encourage that and say to them, okay, so the jumper's got a hole in it, how are you going to fix it rather than throwing it away? So we're going to build classes in which are more like repair and rewear, because I do think that they are really interested in that. I think we'll jump on that, because that throwaway, we were very much grew up in this in e-commerce. It was wow, it's brand new, but now I think, whoa, no, this is really bad. How can we repair something rather than throwing it away? How can I do a short class on mending a hole in a denim jacket, or thrifting a jacket from a second-hand store? Adding some ruffles on the sleeves and maybe selling it. So I think this is going to come back. I feel like it's generally bubbling up now, and I think equally that we can then make it into a business, because maybe a couple of years ago they went so entrepreneurial, and now you've got 14-year-olds making friendship bracelets and selling them. And because it's so much easier to sell things now than when it was, I had a market store. I used to go down every Saturday morning to this freezing cold market store, me and my friends selling our t-shirts, whereas now they can set up an Instagram page and sell them straight away to people all over the world. You go TikTok shop, that is going to be huge. And where we've got Google, people can type into TikTok and go, where's this friendship bracelet you're selling? It's so much easier for them to be able to turn that product around. So I think if we can jump on that and sort of enable that and encourage in such a positive way, I think that's going to be a game changer.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the thing, isn't it? It's giving them kind of that first step, but then there's so many positives with platforms as well, like you said, TikTok, or there is this window of opportunity that they can just go for, but they need to be encouraged, be able to see that it is actually doable. It's not something that, like you said, is something that's only led by people that have either studied it, or you can learn these things at a really young age and then just develop however you want to. It's not something that you have to spend years and years doing. I think as long as you're shown and encouraged, then you can adapt your skills to those things, which is brilliant.
Because you think about it, when I went to university, it was a bit more elitist. You got to go to London. I did a year of a master's degree in Central St. Martin's, and it was the most ridiculously difficult thing I've ever done. And I left after first year because I had to work at the same time. I couldn't live in London, afford to live in London on London rent and not work. I had to run my business at the same time, and it just wasn't realistic. I couldn't commit to the MA. So it's elitist in some way, fashion. But if we can bring it back and say anybody can be a designer, this is an affordable way for you to learn how to become a fashion designer. It's equally something that you can try, and if you hated it, you haven't lost a lot of money. The only thing that I can say for young people doing fashion, age 14 and up, is in London, and it's £750. And you go, no, absolutely not.
Yeah, it's true. And I think that pressure of having, like you say, that there was that vision, and I think there still is, it's still there. I don't think it's, or I hope it's not as kind of in the face of younger people, but you must get a degree, you must do this, you must study fashion, you must tick all these boxes. Going back to what I said before, the anxiety that I felt from some students was just it was crippling. It was young people shouldn't have to feel this way. And hopefully that stigma of going to uni, I think it's great if you do, don't get me wrong, but I don't think there should be that's the only way you can be successful. Is to go to uni. I don't think it's the right thing to push on children nowadays.
No.
So being able, especially in a creative world, because it is so individual, it is so personal, that I think, having, again, somebody like you that's able to say to them, look, try this out. Here's how you do it. Follow this. You like it, great. If you don't, try something else. There's no big kind of push and kids feeling pressure that they have to do stuff, because creativity should be fun. And I think that is the thing. When you go in and giving an opportunity for kids, that's something that's fun, something that's an outlet, it's an expression of who they are, whether they're making themselves a top or making something for a pet that they love. That's, it just holds no barriers. It's perfect. such a special thing to be able to be a part of. And like we said before, like kids of that age, you know, their rawness, their ability to just say it how it is it's something that, you know, we lose that as we become older, because you're like, oh, shouldn't say that, don't do that. And the fact that you get to listen and hear and take away their honesty is like, yeah, it must be just, it's, you can't put a value against that.
No.
You know, it's
No,
something.
you can't. It's magical, honestly. Like, as I say, I've worked with women one-to-one for 20 years. Like, I've watched women in wedding dresses, I've watched children in communion dresses, you know, and the level of like, oh, I don't look right in this, this doesn't look right, I don't like my arms, I don't like this. Every single woman has it, and I hate it, but we have to carry this around with us. Like, we're expected to feel this way. Like, we can't stand it. I can count on one hand, and I've been doing this for so many years, how many women have stood in my mirror over there and said, don't I look fabulous? Honest to goodness. And I've spoken to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of women wearing wedding dresses, you know, the most beautiful thing they'll put on. And that breaks my heart. But 8-year-olds don't talk like that. 8-year-olds go, woo, look at me. You come out in a communion dress and they go, woo, doing all this. You go, love it. Keep that. How do we keep that? How do I tell you, you're great, you're wonderful, you look beautiful, and that sinks in?
Yeah, you know? It does. And I think that's
my mission.
Perfect. So, and what a mission to be able to be a part of. And I think that's why I wanted to speak to you today, to champion it and make sure that, you know, whether you're gifted, that you'll come to somebody's school, or somebody can get in touch with you through your website, to be able to say, okay, either you are somebody young that's listening to this, and you're like, oh yeah, I'd love to do that, or you're a parent or a guardian that's like, okay, I think my child or a child I know is creative, and I didn't know what to do to utilize that and give them an opportunity. But this is it. This is a way I can try and do that. So yeah, I think it's brilliant. It.
Imagine if you were a parent that's like, I've got one, you know, I can't even sew a button on, you know, I've never, or they've equally never been allowed that creative outlet, you know, that's another thing. So they don't know how to, this child just, wow, you know, wants to draw all the time and I don't know what to do. Equally, you get teachers in school who are, you know, because textiles and fashion isn't a major push at GCSE or A-level. It's rare. So if you have a teacher that's maybe, you know, DT, woodwork, electrics, whatever, and it's got this student that's desperate to do fashion, it could be a teaching resource. Oh, don't worry, I know what we'll do. We'll just click on the KD Club and we'll follow along one of our fashion illustration classes. Honestly, the sky's the limit with this, with it being a digital offering as well as a personal. So from a business point of view, that is, sorry.
Exactly. And I think that's the thing. And that's why I want to make sure today that even though you are championing your own city and everything like that, there is opportunity for anybody listening that is completely approachable from a digital point of view. So if you're listening from outside of the Northwest or anywhere else, then definitely you can visit the website, visit the Instagram page, learn more about it, and, you know, sign up and hopefully be a part of the KD Club, which is amazing.
Thank you.
So, thank you so much for talking to me today. There's so much more that you could just keep digging and digging, and it's like never ending. And there's always something that's super relative, whether it's your own journey of being like a kid and wanting to do it and making sure that it's not a silly, you know, phase. It's something that you're desperately passionate about. And I know that obviously you're desperately passionate about, and you've built a very successful business, and you're leveraging that to give back, which I think is always super important. I think anybody that takes the time to do that is just, number one in my book anyway. And I think it's an amazing thing that you're doing. So thanks for sharing it with me and everybody that's listening. I'll of course link everything afterwards as well, so we can redirect everybody in your direction. But yeah, thank you so much for today.
Thank you, Claire.